This one was a surprising one to me, given everything that's going on in Russia, what happened in Iran, what happened in Gaza. But the bottom line is Democrats in the American voters' minds cannot hack it. What are we talking about? Party trust to more on foreign policy. Well, the GOP holds an average 6-point lead in the month of July. Look at this. Fox News came out last week, plus 3 points for Republicans on foreign policy over the Democrats. You think that number is not high enough for you? How about the Wall Street Journal? GOP plus 8 points when they match congressional Democrats up against congressional Republicans. The bottom line is this. Despite everything that's going on in the world right now, Republicans are more trusted on Democrats when it comes to foreign policy and the world at large. Trust more in foreign policy. You go back to 2024, Trump had a 6-point advantage over Kamala Harris. Again, look at the average right now. It hasn't moved despite everything that's going on in the world. You see Republicans plus 6 points here. And this goes back to a larger issue that we have discussed over and over again here in the mornings. Despite any misgivings that the American public might have about Donald Trump, when you match up Republicans against Democrats, Donald Trump against Democrats, still at this particular point, they are doing significantly better than you might expect. And when it comes to the issue of foreign policy, again, what you see is in the American voters' minds, Democrats simply put can't hack it. More voters trust Republicans on foreign policy, very much like they did back during the 2024 campaign.
What about the strikes on Iran? Because while they were being contemplated, they were not universally popular.
No, they were not universally popular. And in the immediate aftermath, they were not universally popular. Look at this. Net approval rating, U.S. airstrikes on Iran. In late June, the net approval rating, look at that, minus 8 points, underwater. But as the American people learned more and more about it, look at this. A 10-point rise. Now it's in the positive. The American people like the move that Donald Trump put on Iran, the U.S. airstrikes in Iran, a positive +2 net approval rating. So again, the bottom line is this. As the American people learn more about these airstrikes, as the American people compare Donald Trump and the Republicans against the Democrats, they see them far more favorably than you might expect.
Interesting and notable that the president is overseas today. Foreign policy may be an area that is stronger for him.
Yeah, and you know, the thing about the Iran situation, of course, polls probably were a little bad, right? Because all mainstream media was doing and saying was that either the strikes weren't successful or Trump's about to start World War III. So, of course, all of the leftists are going, oh, my goodness, no, he's going to start a war, blah, blah, blah. You know, the whole nine. But then after a while, they realized, oh, crap, no, that was a lie. No World War III started. Actually, Trump did set them back. He did destroy what he said he destroyed, you know. And in terms of the foreign policy, listen, we had 4 years under Democrat leadership. We saw what that was like. And now we're seeing what we're 7 months in now, Trump trying to negotiate, for one, these tariffs, which we're going to get into the tariffs because, more W's, baby. Mainstream media, oh, no, the tariffs are going to jack up the prices for everybody. And we're seeing that's not the case. Oh, no, Trump's going to crash the economy. And we're seeing that's not the case. Oh, no, Trump's going to force all of our allies away from us. And we see that's not the case. Time and time and time again. I mean, after a while, you got to say, okay, yeah, no, we trust the Republican Party. Like, it's just that's just common sense, right? And if CNN is reporting on those numbers, you can bet your bottom dollar those numbers are better than that. But let's get into the latest deal that Trump struck with the EU that has been having mainstream media going absolutely crazy to the point where even leftist media, they're even admitting, yeah, Trump did good with this one.
So we're going to do the following. The European Union is going to agree to purchase from the United States $750 billion worth of energy. $750 billion worth of energy. They are going to agree to invest into the United States $600 billion more than they're investing already. So they're investing a large amount of money. You know what that amount of money is. It's very substantial, but they're going to invest an additional $600 billion. They're agreeing to open up their countries to trade at zero tariff. So that's a very big factor. Opening up their countries, all of the countries will be opened up to trade with the United States at zero tariff. and they're agreeing to purchase a vast amount of military equipment. We don't know what that number is, but it's the good news is we make the best military equipment in the world, so sort of you have to do that. I mean, until somebody tops us, which is not going to happen. We're way ahead of every other country in terms of the quality of the military equipment. You saw that recently in Iran, and you see that, unfortunately, you see that often for all the wrong reasons, right? So those things are 750 billion, 600 billion, opening up the country. We are agreeing that the tariff straight across for automobiles and everything else will be a straight across tariff of 15%. So we have a tariff of 15%. We have the opening up of all of the European countries, which I think I could say were essentially closed. I mean, you weren't exactly taking our autos, you weren't exactly taking our agriculture, and then you would have smaller things, but for the most part it was closed. And now it's open. It's open for our companies to go in and do a good job with it. I think you'll like them. I think you'll like it. And we will, very importantly, they'll be investing a lot of money, but the military is a big number, but that's one number we're not determining. It's going to be whatever it is, but they're going to be purchasing hundreds of billions of dollars worth of military equipment. They're very important. They're going to purchase $750 billion worth of energy. So that's going to be great. And $600 billion worth of investments into the United States over and above what they have. So, and I think that basically concludes the deal. I mean, those are the main factors. I don't think there are too many other factors, other than we're going to get along great. And we have a great relationship now with NATO, which is largely the same. I mean, not exactly, but pretty close, right? Largely. And with NATO, as you know, they're going up to 5% from 2%. And the relationship is very strong with NATO. So I just want to congratulate you. I think it's great that we made a deal today instead of playing games and maybe not making a deal at all. I think it's, I'm going to let you say, but I think it's the biggest deal ever made. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
So to sum it all up, the EU is basically completely open to American industries. While, yes, America is open to, European industries, but we get to tariff their products 15% still, while our products are tariffed at 0. To make a long story short. So, yeah, great for America. Great for America. And, it's right, because we all know when America is doing well, the world is better off, right? Because we help so many other countries. We're always spending money here, there, and everywhere else, including with NATO, which she talked about there at the end. They're increasing their spending from 2% of GDP to 5% of their GDP. We heavily fund that too. You know what I mean? So I think it's only right that we get the better side of all these deals because we're helping everybody else constantly. I think we deserve to, be on the right side of things, which we should have been from the start, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, let's jump into this clip from Bill Maher. I actually posted this as a YouTube short, so if you don't watch my YouTube shorts, definitely check them out because you're missing out on some good stuff. But if you watched them, then you probably saw this clip a couple of days ago. Now check it out.
I remember along with probably most people, was saying at the beginning, by the 4th of July, somebody had to think how the economy was going to be tanked by then. And I was kind of like, well, that seems right to me, but that didn't happen. Now, it could happen tomorrow. I'm just saying that's reality. So let's work first from the reality of that, not from I just hate Donald Trump. Because that's boring and doesn't get us anywhere and leads you to dishonesty. Because the truth is, I don't know what his strategy is. But look, the stock market is at record highs. I know not everybody lives by the stock market, but I also drive around. I don't see a country in a depression at all. I see people out there just living their lives. And I would have thought, and I got to own it, that these tariffs were going to fucking sink this economy by this time. And they didn't. So, How do we deal with that fact? Because that's the fact.
Even Bill Maher had to come out and admit, yeah, I was wrong. The tariffs, they didn't do what these leftists said they were going to do. They didn't destroy the economy. They didn't crash markets. They didn't, increase prices on American citizens. Like, no, Trump was right. And that's just the fact. I believe this is CBS. Yeah, CBS. Even CBS had to admit, this new deal, Trump did his thing.
A major victory for President Trump that averts a painful trade war between the United States and the European Union. The two trading partners exchange $2 trillion in goods every year. CBS's Weijia Jiang is in Edinburgh, Scotland, traveling with the president. Weijia.
Good evening, Jerika. Heading into trade talks, President Trump set expectations for getting a deal done with the European Union, putting the chances at 50-50. And then after a meeting that lasted just over 1 hour, Trump announced they had reached an agreement.
We have good news. We've reached a deal.
President Trump announced the news from his luxury golf resort in Turnberry, where he hosted the president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen.
I think this deal will bring us very close together, actually. It's a partnership in a sense.
It's a huge deal. It will bring stability. It will bring predictability. That's very important for our businesses on both sides of the Atlantic.
The two leaders said the tariff rate for imports from the EU's 27 member countries would be 15%, down from 30% that was set to kick in on Friday. The EU has agreed to purchase U.S. military equipment, $750 billion of U.S. energy, and invest an additional $600 billion in other sectors. And there's good news for U.S. companies that sell to EU nations.
They're agreeing to open up their countries to trade at zero tariff. So that's a very big factor.
I mean, come on now. They're all admitting it. They're all admitting it.
Isabel, the bottom line is this is the biggest trade deal in President Trump's effort to effectively reshape the global trading order. That has been one of his central priorities since taking office in January. He's been issuing many threats of tariffs, but they clearly have been working in terms of bringing other countries, allies, and adversaries alike, in some cases, to the negotiating table. And the latest example was today here in Scotland when the leader of the European Commission, who of course is negotiating for the European Union, she agreed to a 15% across-the-board tariff. Now that is significantly higher than the 10% tariffs in existence now, but it's much lower than the 30% threat that was coming on Friday and the 50% threat that was made in May. So clearly there has been an instance where the president has been using his threats of higher tariffs as a negotiating tactic, and in this case, it certainly worked. Isabel?
It certainly worked. Got the deal done. 0% tariffs on American products, 15% on the EU. Just saying. Just saying. Now, let's continue on because there's more. Even MSDNC got in on the action.
U.S. take any hits with this deal? And what does it say, this outcome say about the president's ability to negotiate?
It's incredibly favorable for the United States. And you look at this, it's been very one-sided. I mean, the U.S. has been making the demands. These other countries have had to kind of contort and comport themselves to them. So they emerge fine here. But what's going to change is over the next weeks and months, as countries and trading partners like the EU look at this episode and think, can we trust this relationship with the U.S.? Can it continue? I think even looking at this deal, framework of which we don't have a ton of details. If that somehow goes south or changes, what's a trading partner like the EU to do? So we see them broaching new relationships with their other trading partners, looking for other opportunities. And I think that's going to be kind of the message here going forward. What's the legacy of these talks, of these threats going to be? And how are other countries going to kind of look at trade going forward? How are they going to change their tack now after all of this?
China is still a big question mark, and we know there are talks happening today, right, in Stockholm. Where do things stand there?
So I don't think anybody's worried about countries going somewhere else, especially not to China, right? We have a massive market here, so you're going to need to get in on this market, and you got to pay to play. That's just the way that it goes. So MSDNC trying to spin it there at the end. Of course, it's MSDNC. But the fact that they were even willing to admit, like, yo, this deal is great for America, says a lot. Says a whole lot. It means this deal is absolutely massive because, like I said, even there in that little short clip, they still tried to spin it there at the end and saying, oh, well, in the long run, this may be bad for America, because they're going to go talk to other countries, like, as if they don't already talk to other countries, as if they haven't been talking to other countries for a very, very long time, right? What are you talking about? Anyway, they're gonna need the American market, so they aren't going anywhere.
Is this a fantastic deal then struck by Donald Trump and just terrible negotiation on the part of the EU? I mean, how do you...
I think that's an accurate assessment. To me, this is a humiliating capitulation on behalf of the EU, and it really calls into question this amazing negotiating strength, this leverage that the EU is supposed to exert as a superpower on world affairs. It really makes you wonder, what is it actually doing for its member states if the UK can on its own get a better deal than this giant economy? So I think it's a real failure on the part of the European Commission in negotiating here. And obviously it's better than not having any deal at all at 30% or something, but this is really a wasted opportunity, I think, for the EU, and absolutely a victory on behalf of the Trump administration.
And let's have a listen to how Donald Trump feels about the deal.
You've done a fantastic job with regard to the trade deal. They wanted a trade deal here for years, many years, through many different terms of different people, and you got it done. So I want to congratulate you on that, and it's a great deal for both. It brings unity. We didn't need unity, but it brings us even closer together. I think it's good for both parties.
That's the US then, the US president on the US-UK deal. So stepping back for the moment, this is a big week, of course. I mean, we've got this sort of Trump-imposed deadline once again for countries to sign up to deals. Otherwise, tariffs are going to go sky high on them. That is Friday, August the 1st. So this is always going to be a big week. What we've heard Sunday is this deal that you have described as capitulation. You have described as damage control. Others are describing as submission by the EU. Step back for a moment. What does this all basically mean? Let's start with the United States. Where are we at with Donald Trump, his trade deals, and the US economy at this point?
Well, Donald Trump has said that there is now 7 trade deals with America's trading partners. Now, obviously, that's more than there were a few weeks ago, but it's still significantly less than what there needs to be if we're talking about all of America's trading partnerships. But this is part of Trump's real crusade to redress what he perceives to be imbalances, unfairness towards America from US trading partners. Just to give you one example, the EU, that really has been in Trump's crosshairs for quite a while now. He has referred to the EU as being designed to screw the US, and he's called out tariffs, but also the non-tariff barriers that the EU places on the US, like a digital service tax, for example. So the bigger picture is that Trump is still very much pursuing his longer-term goal of achieving what he perceives to be fairness for America.
Exactly what we voted for him for. To put America first. And that's exactly what he's doing. That is exactly what he's doing, and they're even admitting it on CNN. On CNN, they're admitting that Trump is attempting to put America first, not just here in America, on American soil, but globally, making sure America is put first. Promises made, promises being kept. At least he's doing it to the best of his abilities. Obviously, there's going to be roadblocks and things he's going to have to navigate, so things won't always turn out perfectly. But at least he's attempting. I love that. It's better than what we had before, I'll tell you that much, right? I think he has the leverage. I think he has a whole lot of leverage to get it done. Canada's going to have to get on board here soon. They're still trying to play hardball. It ain't going to turn out too well for them, though. I can guarantee you that. But, yeah, man. When mainstream media is admitting that Trump is doing a great job or Trump's deal was great, it was absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So, great news, man. Great news. But y'all get in the comments. Let me know your thoughts and your opinions about all of this. Are you happy with the job that Trump is doing so far? And if not, what more do you want? Let me know in the comments, all right? Y'all stay safe out there. Peace and love. I'm out.